Hello, welcome again to FairTax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Molero.
And we are
the FairTax
guys. Oh, you're getting worse at this. You know that?
I know. You think after all the practice anyways. Well, here we are, the FairTax guys.
In our new studio.
Yes, in our new studio.
Right in the middle of your living room.
Off to an auspicious start here.
Indeed. So. Well, I tell you what. And so we're still keeping an eye on Congress.gov as we're recording this. 639 proposed changes to the tax code.
Over 11 per day.
Over 11 per day.
That they're in session.
Yeah, and they're talking about kiddie taxes and the municipal solid waste and electrically aerated bait containers.
Yeah.
And that's cool stuff. We'll have to look that up.
Yes, that one was put forth by our Senator, Marco Rubio.
Who is reneged on his support of the fair tax. We're going to have to do something about that at the ballot box next time around.
If you go to Congress.gov and in the search bar put in quotes Internal Revenue Code and click the search button, you'll come up with all these crazy ideas for changing the tax code. And Congress seems to have a huge appetite for wanting to change the tax code because they're proposing about 11 changes each day. Now, fortunately, not many of these will actually become law, but they will. And they will add to the tax code. They'll add to the 76,000 pages of the tax code that we are responsible for and make it even more complicated.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to PopVox and write on Mr. Rubio's aerated bait container proposal that this is crazy and they ought to support the fair tax instead.
That's a good idea. I'll talk about PopVox while you're doing that.
Go ahead.
All right. POPVOX. You can see it down below here. PopVox is a great site for you to weigh in on any legislation. Go to PopVox. If you haven't joined it before, you have to give them, you should give them your real name, but your address, because with your address, it knows who your congressman is and who your two senators
knows
are.
what district you're in.
It knows what district you're in. So, and so it knows your representative and your senators. Then you can search out any proposed legislation that's in Congress right now. We encourage you to search out H.R. 25, the fair tax, and please write a comment of support for it. And you don't have to be an expert in tax reform or anything like that. Just give from your heart why you like the fair tax. And when you finish, that note will be sent to your representative and both your senators, and you will get a response.
Yeah, and everybody up there, the Congress people themselves, have got way too much to deal with to be watching this thing, but every last one of them has staff that is dedicated, one or two people that are just solely dedicated. Their only job is to keep an eye on PopVox and see what folks in their district are responding to and what they're thinking about it. So this will get through.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a great site, and I haven't mentioned it in a couple of weeks, so I'm glad you brought that up because it's a very worthwhile.
So I'm going to tell Senator Rubio to quit messing with bait cases and get back on the fair tax.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because, we're not going to get into that, but we're not happy with Senator Rubio because he did talk very nicely about the fair tax when he was running for senator, and since he has become a senator, he's kind of run away from it. So we got some work to do there here in Florida.
You have got a huge pile of stuff here today.
Yeah, well...
So I think I'm just going to take a nap. And you can dig into that pile of goodies.
I think you'll enjoy this.
I want to watch some of this.
The theme this week is that our tax code is a national embarrassment. It really is.
And a national disgrace.
Why do I say that? Well, it's a national disgrace. But recently, this is really embarrassing. Okay, this is from Euronews, from the United Kingdom. Could Meghan and Harry's royal baby be one of the newest American taxpayers? Yeah. All right. The royal baby, Archie.
And this is people that live in the UK now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Archie is seventh in line for the kingship, or the throne,
the British throne, or whatever.
Yeah, the British throne. So this is by like I said, by Euronews, dated about a week ago, May 10th, a week ago from this recording. Now that royal baby, and here's his full name, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, has been born. He has a number of interesting things to look forward to, and one of them is paying U.S. taxes.
The other one's learning to spell his name.
Yeah, well, it might take a while for that. But anyways, since Archie's mother, Meghan Markle, is American, he will automatically have American nationality. And because the U.S. is one of the few countries to charge tax based on citizenship and not residency, that makes the royal baby liable to pay U.S. taxes. Well, he's a baby. What could he owe in taxes? He's the royal baby, all right? He is part of the royal family. They are fabulously wealthy, okay? The requirement in U.S. law is that the mother, Meghan, lived in the U.S. for 5 years, at least 5 years, which she did most of her life, and at least 2 of them after the age of 14, which she did, because she's an adult. Yes. So what could be the most surprising for some is that the tax collection in the U.S. has no age limit. So baby Archie could be liable.
He's less than a year old, and the IRS is coming after him.
Yeah, he's a couple of weeks old.
Good grief!
Even though he's only a few days old, Archie will have to file soon, as he has more than $10,000 in a bank account under his name.
Does he have a Social Security number?
The good question. I don't know. Okay, this is according to David Tritel. Okay, the IRS will be looking at Archie's income. The IRS will be looking at the royal baby's income. Again, this is a national embarrassment, all right? If he owns any investments, and because he comes from a wealthy family, I think the royal family is wealthy.
I would think so, yes.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of anybody in the royal family applying for a loan? No. Okay. And because he comes from a wealthy family, they'll put investments under his name soon. Mm-hmm. And if he starts having income, dividends, capital gains, I expect he's going to have to report to the U.S. However, the amount of U.S. tax the royal baby will have to pay will depend on his UK taxes. And it goes in to talk about, apparently, the taxes that he owes in the United Kingdom is going to have some bearing on how much he owes here. But he will owe U.S. taxes.
We'll have to get Jade to help him out.
Yeah. Our friend in Colorado. The royal family tend to be quite private, you think, when it comes to their personal finances, but there could be an inheritance that could be taxable. Right? The newest member of the royal family will also have to report gifts received from non-American citizens with a value higher than $100,000. Like maybe they'll give him one of those Rolls Royces or something like that.
Like a Learjet and a Lambo.
But maybe the most concerning part of this will be the amount of information the IRS will be able to gather on the royal family thanks to Meghan and baby Archie's tax returns. Yeah, see?
You think the House Ways and Means Committee will want to get a hold of those? Good.
Yeah. The House Ways and Means Committee is going to go after baby Archie.
If this wasn't so insane, it would be funny.
We're laughing, but it really isn't funny. Tax returns provide a lot of information about a person, like property owned outside the U.S. or value of assets. Yeah. To counter this, the royal family was busy trying to find a way not to reveal too much information of their financial assets to the IRS long before Meghan and Harry were married, because they could see this coming. All right. Of course, Archie could always renounce his American citizenship to escape paying taxes, an option that he will only be allowed to consider when he reaches the age of 18.
Well, how many people do that?
A lot. All right. That got me to look thinking about, because Bob and I have talked about this on a previous episode, probably a couple of years ago now, about people who renounce their U.S. citizenship. This is a national embarrassment. Americans renouncing citizenship. What you might it's not what you think. Okay? I can't read it even though I printed it out. Okay, this is from Forbes and it's dated December of last year, so it's fairly current. All right, by Robert W. Wood. U.S. Treasury Department has published the names of people who renounced their citizenship during the third quarter of 2018. It's required by law. So the published numbers are probably lower than the actual numbers because they think they haven't caught up with them all. Anyways, in the third quarter of last year, 1,107 people. Altogether for the whole year, over 5,000 people have renounced their U.S. citizenship. Now, there are a variety of reasons for this, but the major reason,
to get rid of having to pay U.S. taxes.
Yeah, because these people, we have over 320 million people, and we have companies that do business overseas. So they might send, in fact, one time, our youngest son was told by his company they were going to send him to work in China.
Wow.
They didn't actually send him, but it was a possibility. So people get sent overseas. They're working over there. They might be over there for a number of years. They might really enjoy it. They're still U.S. citizens, but they live and work in a foreign country. Okay, they are subject to that country's taxes, but good old Uncle Sam and the IRS, they have long arms and they reach across the oceans and they force these people to file tax returns for them too. So these people who are living and working overseas are not only paying taxes in the country in which they reside, but they have to pay taxes to the U.S. too.
Simply because they're American citizens.
Because they're American citizens, and like in the other article, because our tax code goes by citizenship, not residency, unlike most other countries. So the roughly 5-year upswing in expatriations was not over one issue, but tax considerations are at least part of the equation. Yeah, a big part. Expats have long clamored for tax relief. One law motivating some is FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. FATCA has been ramped up worldwide, and it's only since, by the way, that was put into effect in 2010, so it's not that old. All right, it hasn't been around forever. Requiring an annual Form 8938 filing if your foreign assets meet a certain threshold. Okay? It says FATCA was enacted in 2010. It now spans the globe with an unparalleled network of reporting. America requires foreign banks and governments to hand over secret bank data about depositors.
How can the American government have that kind of sway over foreign banks?
Well, that's a good question because I don't fully understand that. And maybe when we go out to Colorado next week and see our friend Jade Wally, he can explain that to us. Yep. Non-U.S. banks and financial institutions around the world must reveal American account details or risk big penalties. Yeah, again, we don't pretend to understand how that happens, but just the fact that it happens is a national embarrassment. Our tax code is a national embarrassment. America's global income tax compliance and disclosure laws can be a burden, you think? All right, especially for U.S. persons living abroad. Their American status can make them untouchable by many banks. So they have trouble, doing business with banks over there because the banks say, oh no, sorry, Mr. American, we don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. No. Americans living and working abroad must generally report and pay tax where they live, but they must also continue to file taxes in the U.S. where reporting is based on their worldwide income. Moreover, enforcement fears are palpable for the annual foreign bank account reports.
So you don't earn a dime in the United States, and Uncle Sam wants his chunk of it.
That's right. Our good old friends at the IRS. All right, like I said, they have long arms that
Why don't
reach.
we put those clowns out of business?
Well, that would be a good idea, Bob. All right. Ironically, leaving America can be costly. Get this. America charges $2,350 to hand in your passport.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You hand in your passport and they hand you a bill for $2,300?
Uh-huh. So if you want to
What happens if you don't pay?
Renounce your citizenship, that'll cost you also. But if you're making a big salary and you're getting hammered by U.S. taxes as well as where you live, it may be worth it. So our tax code is chasing citizens away. just like our tax code chases businesses away.
Our tax code is full of municipal solid waste.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a terrible situation, Jeez.
What do we do about it? Why don't we just get rid of it all?
Well, that's a good idea, Bob. What do you think?
I'm trying to set you up here.
Maybe we could have a tax code which isn't so onerous and doesn't affect so many people in so many ways.
That sounds like a big problem. We really need a big solution.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm pointing to your book over there.
All right. This little booklet, which I neglected to mention in the last episode, that's a book that Terry Tibbetts, he's a local volunteer here, wrote a couple of years ago. It's a very simple introduction to the FairTax. You can get a digital copy for like $3 from Amazon, the Apple Bookstore, and I believe Barnes & Noble, okay? You can get a printed copy. The printed copy, strangely enough, costs $10 because apparently ink and paper cost a lot more than electrons. But anyways,
Okay.
If you want a very simple introduction to the FairTax, this is the way to go. You want something that's a little bit more involved, get one of these, all right? And we talked significantly about this in the last 2 episodes. All right, more embarrassment, Bob.
All right.
Key Democrat pushes new tax on wealthy, targeting unrealized capital gains. Now, if you're not a CPA and you don't have a lot of investments, this might not mean much to you. I had to look it up. Oregon Democrat Senator Ron Wyden, a ranking member of the influential Senate Finance Committee, announced this week, and this was published April 3rd, so it's a couple months old. All right. Announced this week he is developing a new way to tax the wealthy, because, the wealthy must pay their fair share. Aimed at overhauling the capital gains tax structure. Capital gains are currently paid on the difference between what an individual originally paid for property or investment and what he or she sold it for at the time it's sold. So
you don't actually get the money from it until you sell it.
Exactly.
So as long as you're holding it, you just have something that's worth so much.
Right. But
and
like
just
property,
that value on paper. You don't have money in your bank account to.
Exactly. If we're talking about real estate, you know that usually real estate investments appreciate over time.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, there may be some small dips, but over a period of time, they do appreciate. And so, well, Mr. Wyden is proposing. Senator Wyden is proposing that unrealized capital gains are taxed annually, meaning that these assets are taxed each year on that their value appreciates even if the owner doesn't sell them.
So I've got to dig into my pocket and come up with money that I don't have because it's just sitting in an investment and I haven't realized that profit yet.
Oh yeah.
He says, all right, your profit for this year is this much because your investment went up this much. You owe me.
That's right.
So you got to dig into your own pocket. You're not paying the tax with money from your investment. You're paying taxes. You don't have that money yet, and he's still trying to tax you.
Yeah.
That is a national disgrace.
It's terrible.
That guy needs to be voted out of office.
Yes, and I wonder if the people of Oregon will actually do this, because this is a nutty idea. In fact, folks, when I heard about this, the term nutty idea was in the headline. I try to be nonpartisan. I had to search a number of different news sites before I found one that was somewhat not partisan and not really heckling the senator over this idea.
A crazy idea.
Yeah.
A nutty idea.
Proposing to change as a means to combat inequality. Well, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution give everybody the opportunity to succeed. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to succeed. Not everybody's going to end up with the same earnings and the same investments and so forth. But the opportunity is there. But some people think that's not good enough. They want to make sure that everybody comes out equally. And it's not possible. All right. Republican Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania called the proposal a breathtakingly terrible idea.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right.
Now, I don't have a whole lot of that stuff. That's not going to affect me. But it's just nuts to tax you on money that you don't have.
Well, let's extrapolate this a little bit.
Okay.
They're talking about real estate. Well, there's all kinds of investments. I mean, I'm sure everybody has watched at least one episode of the Antiques Roadshow. People collect all kinds of stuff.
Railroad signals.
Railroad signals. I know a guy that collects railroad signals. Yep. And I mean, it could be rare coins. It could be dolls. I mean, antique dolls. All kinds of stuff. And with his proposal, all of these things would be subject to this unrealized capital gains. Imagine the paperwork. Imagine the paperwork on anything that you collect, whether it be real estate or antiques, that you're going to be responsible for doing the paperwork on the appreciation of these items. And then what happens in a year? So they appreciate for a couple of years, and then something happens and they depreciate. Are you going to get a tax break for that?
I don't know, but I got a question. How is this guy going to know? I do have an antique railroad signal. And how is this guy going to figure out how much it's worth every year? What do you do? How do you do that? I mean, there's not a huge market for those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just a little nuts.
It's not like a stock value where you can see what a particular stock is worth at any given time. If you've got a rare coin or a railroad signal or electric train or Pokemon cards or anything like that, I mean, for which there is not a running total kept for how much those things are worth, how is he going to determine how much they're worth and what you have to pay on it? That
more paperwork.
That's insane.
That's like now. I mean, people work under the table. They have a regular job, and then they work maybe nights and weekends. Mm-hmm. And if they don't report it, okay. And I don't understand that.
He says that's going to mess up farmers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because the value of your livestock, the value of your plants, the value of
it's bad enough
of your farm machinery, the value of your crop duster, and all that goes.
Yep, it's bad enough that farmers get hit real hard when they retire, and they want to turn. Now they've got massive lands because if it's a dairy farm, they got to have pastures for all these cows and so forth. Mm-hmm. Whatever kind of farm, or if they're growing stuff, they have massive amounts of lands, and they turn it over to their kids. Their kids usually have to sell the whole thing just to pay the taxes that are due on that. So family farms, whoosh, out the door.
The tax man shows up with his hand out at the funeral.
That's about it.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's a national disgrace. We need to fix that.
It's terrible. So, I mean, it's just more examples of how bad this tax code is. I mean, it really is a national embarrassment. All right, when you're talking about a baby who's days old, who was born in England and now may owe U.S. taxes. It's nuts, folks. We have to do something about this, and the something we can do about it is the FairTax. All right?
Get rid of this national embarrassment, pull it out by the roots, repeal it, get rid of it, get rid of the constitutional authority for having it in the first place, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And you never have to deal with these kinds of insanities again, because the fair tax is just simply a consumption tax. You pay it at the cash register when you buy things. It's included in the price of things, not tacked on like most of the sales taxes we know about already.
Yeah.
And it's just elegantly simple, elegantly fair, and nobody can evade it. I mean, that's the big problem with the current income tax system. People evade it like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, the evasion is
billions
terrible.
of dollars worth.
We're going to have to spend another episode on the evasion. We haven't addressed that in a while, but
yeah, we'll have to talk to Jade about that when we go out there, because he deals with that kind of stuff.
By the way,
I would imagine
we keep referring to this trip to Colorado. Right, Jade Wally, who we had on FairTax Power Radio, has invited us, Bob and I, to address a graduate class for CPAs next week.
Yeah, he's from Colorado, but we're going out to Oklahoma.
Right. What did I say? Oh, I screwed it up again. Yeah, I keep forgetting.
Elaine waved at you. I mean, you had something wrong.
Anyways, yes, we're going to Oklahoma, and we're going to talk. This is going to be interesting because we're going to talk to these graduate level CPA students, and Bob was,
and we're going to have video. We'll bring it back to you so you can see what they do to us.
Yeah, because. Hey, I was a high school science teacher, all right? And Bob was in radio, and he was a computer programmer.
I was a DJ and a computer programmer. And I'm not sure how that was going to work.
The most we know about, obviously we've learned a lot about this crazy income tax.
We can do that.
We've learned a lot about the FairTax, the income tax, because of our work with the FairTax. We've learned more than we care to think about, all right? But this is going to be interesting. So, so that next week in Oklahoma, it's going to be interesting. More embarrassment here. Democrat seeking Trump's tax returns hasn't released his. Spends lavishly on lobbyists.
I'm shocked that Congress critters spend lavishly on It's usually the other way around, because lobbyists spend lavishly on Congress critters.
It goes back and forth. Yeah. Well, this is from the Washington Examiner, May 7th. Massachusetts Republican Representative Richard Neal, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, hasn't released his recent returns, though he said he planned to in the future.
I'll get around to it one of these days.
Yeah.
Once I use this other guy's tax returns to nail him to the wall politically. And so wouldn't it be nice if we had a system by which there are no tax returns to be used as political weapons?
Yeah, it's nuts.
We need to get rid of the national disgrace that is the income tax and the IRS that comes with it. And you got about 4 minutes to do your grassroots corner.
Okay. Again, Jim Bennett is a board member with the national group, the Americans for Fair Taxation, and he is the grassroots coordinator. You can send him information at jim.bennett@fairtax.org. Jim.Bennett, 2 N's and 2 T's. I've got it down below here. Okay. There's an audience of millions. He's talking about. He's got this one guy who has found a way to generate interest for the fair tax. And we try to be nonpartisan here as much as possible. We are equal opportunity criticizers. That's for both Republicans and Democrats.
And equal opportunity supporters of people who like the fair tax.
Yeah, but this guy wears his MAGA hat. And he goes out, and if he gets a positive comment, he said, well, if you like that, you're going to love this. And he talks about the fair tax not only as a tax reform plan, but he talks about it as a way to drain the swamp. So he's attracting attention to the fair tax from another angle. Yes, it is great tax reform. It is real tax reform, because what we had in 2017 wasn't real reform. It was tax relief, but it wasn't real reform, not at all. Okay, so he's presenting it to people as a way to get back at the establishment and to drain the swamp. So anything you can do to get people attracted to the fair tax, and if you have some success stories like this, then contact Jim at the email address that I put down below here. All right. So thanks, Jim, for that. And
he might make you famous.
Yeah. Let's see. FairTax logo store. How much time do I have? Do I have time to do this? Okay. Yeah, I got a little bit of time. Okay.
Yeah, maybe about 2.
All right. There's all kinds of things at the FairTax logo store. I'm wearing some of them. Okay.
I'm going to confiscate that thing one of these days. I like that.
You could go buy your own.
I'll go buy my own. Okay, I'll do that.
You can get a packet of these palm cards. All right. I think there's like 100 in a bunch. And hang on to these things. My wife always keeps some in her purse and so forth. And we're out for dinner. We leave one of these with a check. If anybody asks about the fair tax, you can hand them one of these, or one of these. We call a prebate card. It's got basic information about the fair tax on one side, the prebate schedule on the back. There's pens. My wife always puts one of these on the strap of her purse, and we have attracted some great volunteers because they've seen this. All right. Mm-hmm. So, fairtaxlogostore.org. fairtaxlogostore.org. Go there, buy something, demonstrate your support for the fair tax. Make it visible. Let people know. We got, as my wife has often said, we've got to make the fair tax logo as commonplace as the Golden Arches. All right? Because
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Because don't put any pickles on mine.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So, anyways. I hope that was instructive, folks. Let's not participate in this national embarrassment anymore, this income tax. Let's do what we can to get Congress to actually get rid of the income tax.
That's right.
It's an uphill battle because these people in Congress really like the power and the perks they get from this income tax.
Okay.
But there's more of us than them. So we need to get a critical mass of people behind the FairTax and force their hand.
Tell your family and friends about the FairTax, about FairTax Power Radio. Share the video. We'd sure appreciate that. And that's going to wrap up this edition of FairTax Power Radio. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
The FairTax guys again reminding you that the FairTax is America's big solution, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So tell me how it works.
You know, it's probably changed since the last time I saw it, but the short answer would be, you want to take this one?
Oh, sure. Okay. Imagine bringing home everything you make. You don't get taxed for saving or accumulating wealth, and your boss doesn't get taxed more even if he pays you more.
Wow, now see, that's amazing.
So the end result of all that is the cost of producing products and running a business goes down, so things cost less. And on top of all that, imagine every criminal, non-citizen, and under-the-table worker also paying taxes.
That's amazing.
That's the FairTax. We tax what you consume as you consume it, and that's it.